Hey, Tackle and Tinny listeners. Guess who's back? It's your lads, Chris and Adam. Ryan is still away. He's having an absolute gay old time in New Zealand. He tells me he's literally been living in a cave. But I guess I will let him tell you that story when he comes back on the pod. It's round 19. It's the final mini buy round. I feel like I say this every week, but man, there's been so much SuperCoach relevant injury carnage yet again. Lots to talk about this week. Obviously, round 9 trade targets, hooker issues, Nathan Cleary, Jerome Hughes, Nico Hines. Do we have to choose two of them only? Or, as the saying goes, a threesome's always better. Like always, like and subscribe on Spotify, your Apple Podcast, whatever social media platform you're on. Like, it really helps us out, so we can get like big time celebrities on the show, like Adam here. How you doing, Mr. Elite Super Coacher?
Oh yeah, I'm good, man. It's getting cold here, far out. Um, yeah, no, good. It's going to be a big week of Supercoach, so keen to talk about it.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, it's been cold here where I am, in the suburb next to you. And look, Ryan is always going on about how he has made it to the big time, the top 1%. Tell the listeners where you're at and where he really should be ranked, really.
So I'm sitting 18th overall at the moment, which is great. Had a pretty big green arrow this week. So yeah, tracking well, but long way to go and not many trades left. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think most of us in the same boat as you. Like, we know you normally rank in like the top 1K each year. Like, have you done anything this year to make it into that top 20, or is it just, it's just good luck this year?
Oh, definitely a lot of luck. I think, there's been some good moves. I think honestly the biggest thing was just getting Tedesco early. Like picking him up in round 3 when everyone else had Turbo and Turbo goes down, like that just shot me right to the top like 100, and I've just been chilling there ever since. So um yeah, that was the main thing. But there's been some good moves, there's been some bad moves. You can't get everything right, unfortunately. But you don't need to. That's the good thing, I guess. If you don't need to get everything right, you just need to get the key things right, usually.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense as well. Like, I remember a few rounds ago, I got Drinky real early in, I think just before Magic round or something like that, and that went real well for me and just shot me up through the rankings too. And but unlike you, I haven't stayed up there. I've it's just been slowly dropping. Yeah, I peaked in high school. Is what some would say. For me, this round, I scored 1,009. I shot up the ranks a little bit to 1,900. I traded in Billy Smith to Mark Nwanga, and then I moved Papi on actually to Kane Bradley. And so, yeah, no, it was pretty good. Nice to have green arrows for me as well, really. I really wanted to not trade last week at all, but just Pappy and Billy Smith, just the injury carnage, And I went from having like 13 players to 11. So, I just had to end up making trades. So, yeah, 6 left now. Wish me
No,
luck.
I mean they were good trades. It's funny you mentioned Ryan is in a cave because you'd have to be living under a rock to not buy Nwangani to last week. And
Yeah, I
unfortunately,
know.
unfortunately for Ryan, he did not.
When he said when he said in like in our Texas, he said, "Look, guys, I literally got out of the cave. I just thought he was just lost. I just thought he was out of Wi-Fi. I didn't actually realize actually in the cave, living
Yeah,
there too, multiple
that's
days."
interesting. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I traded Pappenhausen as well. So a little bit scary seeing him named today for the Storm. Knights Wall this week. What do you reckon, Chris?
Yeah, yeah. Look, that's one of the juiciest matchups this week. But I don't know what to think about it because I feel like the Knights have a really good defense, and like they just can't score. That's just the issue. That's why they keep losing. They
Yeah,
suck so much.
yeah.
But in terms of big scores being put on them, I don't know necessarily if the Storm will do that to them as well. And also Storm sometimes play well. In the first 20 minutes. If they don't do well, then it just becomes an 18-6 game. And nobody scores big points. And I obviously we'll talk about Pappy as well, one of our listener questions later today. Did you want to talk about Origin as well, or have you just, succumbed to realize the fact logically that New South Wales will win?
Oh, look, I mean, Queensland, loves being the underdog, and the boys are going to rally around money. You know, he's had a bit of a tragic week, unfortunately. So it would be pretty disrespectful of New South Wales to try and beat him tomorrow night. So
Ruined the storyline.
yeah, exactly. No, I think it'll be a good game. I mean, I don't think there's much to say, man. Like the teams are the teams. It'll be fun. New South Wales looks better on paper, but that's the case almost every year. So,
Yeah. Do you have a prediction? Final score?
oh,
Make it up.
my gut. I mean, I feel like New South Wales is just a much better team. Like even last game, Queensland got the run of like rub of the green with the penalties early. It was like 8-0 penalties. New South Wales still almost came back and stole it and still scored more tries. So, yeah, like probably 36-16 to New South
Yeah.
Wales, maybe. I think they're going to put a lot of points on, but I hope I'm
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah, exactly right. Honestly, I think you're right. Like, I think that the guys are gonna just rally around Munster. Obviously, as long as he's mentally good to play, you say good on him. You just hope he kills it. Really, Personally, I think New South Wales wins as well. I think 25-18. I think it's gonna be pretty close. Just so long as we're not on the end of yet another 8-0 first half penalty count. Ash Klein. As long as we pay him enough money, should be okay. Should be okay.
He's been in the gym working on his whistle blowing. Working on his shoulder raises.
Ready to ruin yet another Origin game this year for us. We'll very quickly just touch on injury carnage. Obviously, Ryan Paffenhausen, he's been named today, but, he had calf tightness and, NRL physio reported that, some of these can linger sometimes, but he doesn't think that it will affect his goal kicking at all. They don't think, he'll lose it, to Nick Meaney. If he's out again, you probably can consider Dylan Edwards or Latrell Mitchell. Billy Smith, he's out for 1 to 2 weeks with a knee injury. Brandon Smith, he did his MCL as well. He's out for 8 weeks. I'd say don't go by Peter Mamazoulis. He's not a downgrade option. He's going to lose minutes to Saliva Havili. In team list Tuesday, Cleary, Yo, Edwards, Topo, or the Panthers, Origin Stars, they've been named on the extended bench. Sandon Smith, he's named at 20. He's not even in the team at all. Following Sam Walker coming back, Haas, Tino, Lomax, Angus Crichton, they've all been named as well. And Tanner Boyd has been named as well at 7 with Tamari Martin on the bench. He's 329k. He has a pretty good draw, actually. West Tigers, Newcastle, Gold Coast, Dolphins. Adam, yes or no? Any love for Tanner Boyd?
I mean, he'll be goal kicking, you would assume. So that's pretty handy. 329k is a good price. Look, if you have an extra trade and you want to get rid of King Tongia, like I don't hate it. I would have much preferred it to be Tamari Martin. Like if he was the 7, I would have been buying this week for sure. Here's one I'll look at. I think I'll give him a week, see how he looks. But he's got some potential. Like we've seen Metcalf this year and Tamari Martin last year in that role for New Zealand, in that 7 role, really score well for SuperCoach. So he's not the worst, like downgrade, free up cash, get rid of an AE type of situation.
Yeah. Hey, in terms of another, very, very popular trade target this week, third on the list, Ezra Mam. He's 570k, and he's been playing pretty unbelievable. He's been averaging 76, which is like elite status, really, and that's insane considering that he's never been really, SuperCoach relevant. Having averaged like 50 in his last 3 seasons. Would you be considering trading him instead of Tanner Boyd? If you had somebody like Metcalf or LKT that you were trying to get out.
Yeah, Mam's a good option. I mean, the Broncos' draw is really, really good. So they've got, I think their next 3, they have a bye in round 20, but they've got Titans, Souths, and Para. And then they've also got a Cowboys game. They have 2 games against the Storm, but the Storm concede a lot of points to left side players generally. So that's pretty handy for him too. I guess the only question is going to be, Walsh is starting to ramp up a little bit, and having this week off will probably help him. And Ben Hunt will come back into the fold. Is Mam going to keep getting 2 to 3 try assists a week? Probably not. So I wouldn't be buying expecting him to keep up like an 80 average, but he's a good play on matchups. He's good depth. He's affordable price. I don't hate it.
Actually, I would consider, Storm nowadays, that right edge, that's where they concede most of their tries, and I wouldn't, and you saw last week with drinking it, and and the other week as well. Drinky scores, you can score big against the Storm nowadays, really. From any position. I don't have a Bronco on my team, and I'm beginning to regret, a bit. Maybe I should have jumped on,
Oh,
Karapani.
we both should have. Oh man, every time I look at the Broncos draw, I just get sad. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, Karapani, who's he got this week? When he got that junk try against the Dogs, I was so sad. I was like, this is the one game he's meant to score low. It was a good try. He actually ran really well, but it's just, yeah, it's really like every week it's like, yep, there's another matchup. I don't want to have to watch him. So, I mean, I'm hoping that people just don't play him because they have depth or they sell high or something. But yeah, he's scary.
Yeah, I think unfortunately because of flex, there's a good chance he's going to be. We're going to play him more often than not, really. Yeah. But because I don't have a Broncos player on my team, one player I am considering, and a lot of players, would have what its teams would have sold him would be Payne Haas. He's at 727k. He's dropped about 100 to 150k since when he was at his peak. And he's got a break even this week of 100. His points have been down during this Origin period because he's been averaging like 87 at him. But in the last 5 games, he's been averaging 74.
Mm.
I listened to the NRL Physio podcast, Magic Sponge, last night, and apparently he has a back issue, and that's why he's needed the cortisone injections, but they're causing referred pain to his quad. So kind of like sciatica a little bit. And Brian thinks that the physio thinks that he's going to have to be managed week to week, who have good to bad weeks. Obviously, like you said earlier, they have the bye in round 20. Do you pick you up this week, or do you just wait until maybe round 21 to pick him up?
I mean, logically, you wait, right? Like he's playing Origin on Wednesday, and then they've got to come back to Queensland to play the Titans. He's got a back issue, so shorter turnaround than usual. Flight. You would think that they're probably going to beat the Titans pretty easily, and so he wouldn't be needed for like 60, 65 minutes. But all of that logic applied after round 15 when he flew back from Perth, backed up, went off early with a quad issue, came back and scored 110 in base. So,
Yeah.
like, sometimes the logic just goes out the window. I'm going to wait just because B is a bit high. He's got the bye next week. Like, how much can he really hurt us in 1 week?
Look, I'm glad you pointed it out, because if you were going to point it out, Adam, I was going to point it out that, hey, he's got 100 after round 15 from Perth, different time zone too. Oh, man.
But I mean, and it's the Titans. He could score a double and score 150, and we're just having to pay up even more for him. But yeah, I think I'm going to wait. These injuries, like he's been injured before too. He's not invincible, so I'm not sure what the upside is for 1 week before a bye with a high BE with a known niggle. Like I'm waiting till 21. And the other thing is, sometimes it pays to wait just so that you can trade the right guy out as well. So I know a lot of people don't have many. Like I don't know, I've got like 8 trades left, so pretty low. I'd hate to trade a player to Haas and then the next week one of my other players goes down. Like I've got Fanua Blake, I've got Terrell May, I've got Tino. Like if one of these guys gets injured, then they're a better sell. And so waiting that 2 weeks can actually be beneficial, like in that way.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense, because in terms of Payne Haas, there's a bunch of players I'm thinking about selling to him. I just don't know which one just yet. And I think I'd like to just play it out a little bit more. And I'm hoping that Haas, he just doesn't score as high, and he drops a little bit more in cash to ensure that I can get him, And again, even if he does score 100, it means his price just doesn't change at all.
Yeah.
So really, it's kind of a win-win. Yeah, just to not touch him for the moment. I'll just quickly name the other 3 players, together, these next 3. Zach Lomax is the number 4 most traded in. Marky Marky's number 5. Val Holmes, number 10. They're all about 690k. All these guys are potential season keepers. The shame is you just can't pick them all. I think you definitely pick up a center, one of these center guns, if only this week, only if you don't need to deal with Hooker or deal with your halfback Nathan Cleary situation this week. If you're looking for a pod, then I guess one could consider Nick Meaney. He's number 6 most traded in, 486k. He's 1.6% owned. Is he a good pod, Adam, or are we just literally chasing last week's points?
Oh yeah, you've missed the boat on Meaney for sure. There's a couple of guys in the top 11 that bought him last week, which is crazy. So guy coming fourth and the guy coming 11th both bought him last week, which is like, that's just an unreal move. Like that's how you win Supercoach, you know. He's back at center. Like, he's never been that good at center for Supercoach. You'd need him to keep the goals and you'd need him to get a lot of attack, and it just doesn't seem repeatable. If he was still at fullback, like if Pappenhausen, you know, was out for 4 weeks, then yeah, like you jump on and just ride him. But I wouldn't be getting Meanie anymore.
Yeah, yeah, exactly right. Pappy's been named this week, as we said earlier, but praying that he doesn't get named and doesn't pass his calf tightness is a dangerous, very,
Yeah.
high risk, low reward, strategy. Yeah, I agree with that. Angus Crichton, he's number 7, 584k, 6.1% owned in the top 10%. Do you like him? He's actually quite highly bought this week in the top 1% as well. Like, people have been talking about buying him for a long time. Like, he's a great player, don't get me wrong. I just don't rate him because obviously now Sandon Smith's not in, but he just wasn't given the same quality one-on-one ball, or service off Luke Keary did last year. Yeah. Do you like
Yeah,
him?
I think a big part of the appeal is Sam Walker coming back, and I think people have the expectation that that left edge will suddenly be more dangerous and get more usage. Um, and you're right; it's been, I mean, top 1% trading him in says a lot. Yeah, he's very cheap. He's at a price where, like, he's going to get his price in base. So if he scores a try here or there, you've got good value. The question is, can he have that big game? You know, we've seen him over the past few years have these random 150, 140 type games. And if you buy him at this price at pretty low ownership and he does just get a hat trick versus the Dragons, like, that could be massive. So I really like him as a buy. Um, it also depends on who you're playing him over and who you're selling to him. Like, there's a lot of factors, but he's interesting. He's definitely one I'm looking at.
Yeah, look, even though I said I didn't rate him originally, I think that if in 2RF you can have kind of like a pod player, that you play, just on a whim. Like, I have Britton Nickra, essentially, for example. Like, if you don't have one of these guys, I think it's worthwhile just buying them in and just plugging them in, for go. But I think you have to be careful about having too many of these guys, at 2RF, like a Hudson Young, a Nickra, and, a Crichton, like all three of these guys could go real low. And then
Yeah.
you're now in trouble, really.
Yeah.
But if you only have one of them,
Kick
then it
out
won't
as
hurt you too
well.
much. Yeah, exactly right. Kick out as well. Yeah. I've obviously left the number one trade-in player out, obviously, because it's a hooker. It's Connor Watson. And, as you know, most people are going to be looking to switch in a gun hooker for the run home with Origin done tomorrow night. That means, like, Reece Robson and Harry Grant, they're also back. And it's also deja vu for Sandon Smith because we said he was dropped following Sam Walker coming back. Pretty much the top 6 hookers, they all like are within like an 8-point average ranking. Like, Watson's averaging 67, then it's Blake Brayley at 60, Grant's at 59, Starling's at 59, Egan's at 58. Andy talked last week about diversifying from the Storm spine and not getting Grant, or maybe picking up a pod and hoping one of these guys goes big. Like, I about 2 weeks ago bought in Harry Grant, just hoping that he would go big before round 18, and he didn't really. What are you thinking of doing, Adam?
So I've got Starling and Sandon. And my plan at the moment is to trade Sandon out. I've got Kalani going in 2RF, so I can trade Sandon to any position basically, which makes things a bit easier. So my current plan, if I trade Sandon out, I've only got 18 players this week. And so that means I can just leave Starling and going at hooker and just get a free loop, and it's not going to matter this week. So I think I might just wait and see, trade Sand into a different position. If I had to buy a hooker this week, I think it probably would be Watson. The Roosters don't have a buy. He's got pretty good base. He's got attacking upside. Like, he can go big if things go his way. I'm just sort of wondering, like, what I want to try and figure out is, like, is it actually worth a trade to go Starling up to him? Is it going to be, how many points am I gaining over the last 9 rounds with that? If it's 100 points, is that worth a trade? Maybe. If it's less than that, definitely not. but it could be 200. Like he could just blow him out of the water. So
Yeah, well, I mean, based on the fact that at the moment, Watson's averaging 8 points over Starling at the moment, if that's 8 rounds left to go, then really it's only 64 points, really. And, you don't know what's going to happen. Anytime anybody gets injured in the back line, Connor Watson goes to that position,
yeah,
center or whatever it is. Then again, you just don't know. It's like Tallis Duncan moved to center last week, scored yet another 2 tries yet again. Like it's
crazy.
just insane.
Yeah, crazy.
And also last year I bought Connor Watson for the run home, and he didn't even play 80 half the games. It was just so frustrating as well. And given that a lot of the that now that the Roosters got a lot of their players back, Victor Radley's back as well this week. I know they lost Sil Wong, but he also Zach Docker Clay's there. Is there enough minutes that Watson can play 80 minutes, and do they need to on the way home, especially if they start winning a lot, really?
Yeah, he's got a pretty big injury history too. And he's, touch wood, he's been pretty good lately the last year or two. But before that, he was injured all the time. And it was almost like you can't play in big minutes because he'll just break. So
Yeah.
I think he's a good buy. But yeah, if you need a hooker this week, he'd probably be, and he's got a good matchup too. Grant's not named, so it doesn't leave many options. I do like Blake Brayley as a bit of a pod. Sharks have a really good draw coming up, and he's actually been looking to run a lot more lately. And the good thing with him is he's one of the rare hookers that is locked into 80 minutes. So his lowest score is going to be like a 50 because he makes a bunch of tackles. But if he's running the ball a bit more, like he's had a couple of big scores lately. I do like the look of him. And yeah, I don't mind the idea of going a pod at hooker. I've even had a look at Wade Egan. I've really been like doing deep dive on hooker. There's a lot of different guys you could buy, but
yeah, like Wade Egan is a no for me. He's just because he's not a big body. I find he tends to get like towards the end of the year, his minutes. He ends up getting injured, and his points drop off as well. And that's something that's been consistent over his career as well. So yeah, but I get what you're saying. Really, yeah. We'll probably move on to the halfback conundrum. Really, because Cleary wasn't named this week, it's hard to know if it matters or not. And I think we might just have to wait until late Saturday, to see if he gets named or not. But, are you thinking about buying Cleary this week, Adam? That's simple.
Nah, not even a little bit.
Okay.
It depends on your team. So I've got Hughes and I've got Hines, and Hughes has the day game against the Knights, 3 p.m. Saturday. And you're not even going to know if Cleary's playing 100% by that point, I don't think. So, maybe we will, but I don't know if the 24-hour cuts will be then. But yeah, I'm just going to give Hughes another week. Cleary, he's got a high break even. He probably won't goal kick backing up from Origin with this little groin niggle. Again, he's got an injury issue. And Hines has a really good draw coming up longer term. So yeah, I'm happy to wait a week. The BE is high. And like we've spoken about, Cleary's had this, like, he's been a bit of a TC merchant. He's getting all the +4s, not the +20s. And yes, he had a big score versus the Dogs, but like he got a try for charge down, So if it wasn't for that sort of like fluky bounce of the ball, he's probably scored like 60 that game. I don't think he's 100% essential, at least not this week. Once he gets the goals back, different story. But we've seen a lot of times this year where he's scored like 50, even with the goals, or 60. There was a game against the Dolphins, game against the Tigers. There was a game against Manly where he was even like heavily captained in some of those weeks, and he didn't do really anything. So yeah, I don't really see the point of buying this week unless you think he's going to like get a hat trick or a double or something. What are your thoughts?
Well, I was going to ask you, but I'll say me first. Like, I think depends. Like, for example, if tomorrow I see that he goal kicks, he's in. He's in. I'm just at the moment. I'm just of this belief that there are just so many injuries that keep happening, and all I really want to do is just get to my final 18 players or final 20 players or so. And every week I see like a new shiny object, but like last week it was Mark, and then week before was so and so. And I never get the guys I really, really want. And I know that I want Cleary at the end. He's like averaging like 80, 84, 87 or something like that. And so I'm like, I'm just going to go get him, especially if tomorrow I see that he kicks as well.
But
like what I'm really hoping is really just to capitalize on these next 5 weeks when he plays the 5 worst teams. Para, Souths, West Tigers, Gold Coast, Newcastle, and 4 of
Mm.
those 5, the first 4, they're at home. I know it's at Combank Stadium, and
Yeah.
he's not that great at Combank Stadium, but he hasn't been too bad really at there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what I will probably say is I definitely agree about the injuries, but I think that's why I'd wait, because like I just can't risk bringing him in and he goes down.
Yep.
And he could go down any week, so you can't just never bring him in because of that. But it's got to be a higher risk after Origin. And, Hughes has a good matchup. Cleary's got a high B. Like, I just don't know what the upside this week is. Because even if he goal kicks in Origin, like, there's a chance he would just then not kick for Penrith, especially if, they've got Edwards there who can kick. So, yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know. I personally, I don't see the upside to it. And also, like we've spoken about too, like, what if Hines gets injured or what if Hughes gets injured? Then we're like, okay, well, that's the guy we're selling.
Yeah.
So it's really like if any of the 3 get injured, it's better to wait a week. So yeah, I'm gonna wait for sure.
Yeah. I'll talk about it later in trades, but yeah, I'm going to buy him this week, honestly. But because, like you said, we talked about Haas. I'm likely going to be selling one of these 3 guys to Haas at some point.
Yeah.
So my aim this week is I'm going to buy Cleary. I'm going to put him in my flex, actually.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because I sold Papi last week, and then I'm going to have Hughes, Cleary, and Nico. And then I'm just going to see for like a week or 2 and then see what happens, really. Like, I know at some point I'm getting Cleary anyways. I might as well get him in now. I know, unless, I guess, unless he just literally gets injured, touch wood, obviously, Origin or whatever, right after Origin or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I honestly think that, look, if I see him kicking tomorrow, like, I don't see why he just wouldn't randomly kick. It's just, he's kicking the ball. Like, how hard can it be? Yeah.
True.
But if, like, I see tomorrow, like, like Latrell's kicking, like doing most of the kicking in general, play kicking, then yeah, he's a no-go. So
Big red flag. Yeah.
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 I guess the last question I'll ask about in this scenario was, if you had to pick 2 and you've got to drop one of them, I know what Ryan's saying. He's saying, please don't pick Nico, Timu, Cleary. But would you drop Nico and go Hughes and Cleary for the end?
Oh, nah, no chance. Maybe I'm delusional, but I'm all aboard the Heinz train. I think it'll come good. They've got such a soft draw. Like, it can't be overstated, the easy run of games they have. And they're all a lot of day games too, which are more conducive to SuperCoach scoring. So, and Hughes' draw is tough, man. Like, the last 5, I think it's Broncos twice, Bulldogs, Roosters, and Penrith
Yep.
for Hughes as the last
Yes.
5. So,
Yes, it is.
and he's been like really up and down. Like, he'll have some 120s and he'll have some 40s. And these have been against pretty easy opposition too. He had like 40 versus Souths in a game that went to Golden Point. He only had like 50 on the weekend versus the Cowboys, which was wild. You would have thought that was an easy 100. So again, like, he won't be terrible, but I could easily see like a 55, 60 average in that last like 6 weeks, 5 weeks. So I am pretty keen to get off Hughes eventually. It's just a question of how soon for me, I guess. So yeah, I'd definitely be keeping Nico.
Yeah. Look, I totally agree with you, and I said this to Ryan a while ago, on the pod, and Jake as well. But yeah, that run home is just insane. They play Dolphins and the Roosters in the next 2 weeks, but after that it's Souths, Cowboys, Dragons, Gold Coast, Newcastle, and then they finish with the Bulldogs. Like, they're flat track bullies. Like, I think at the end of the day, what I'm thinking to myself is, can any of these 3 guys be captaincies? And Hughes, it's like what you said, like, against, he has low ones against teams that you think that he should go big in.
Yeah.
And so you can never really VC or see him.
No,
with
no
Nico,
way.
yeah, if Nico gets on a roll, like, you just go, yep, 100%. I'm putting money. I'm putting the VC on you, or the set.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think I would ever do the C with Nico this year, but I probably C at the very least,
Oh, man.
because they're back, like, they're flat track release. Like, I'm literally thinking about spending like one of my last trades on like running Montalvo once again. Like, I get sucked in once again, but
yeah. No, I think I'm hoping that people jump off Hines. Like, I think he's like maybe 80% owned up the top, and I'm hoping that drops and drops. Like, people flick him to Cleary instead, especially if Hughes goes big this week and Nico goes low against the Roosters, which you'd probably expect. I think that will probably start to happen.
yeah,
hopefully. So, yeah.
Yeah, that and them not looking at the fixtures for the run home, because they might keep him if they look at that
Yeah.
fixture.
I'm probably underestimating. People at the top probably not going to do that, but we'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. Anyways, one of our listener questions. One of our listeners, Hawkfire69, he asks, "Is Ryan Pappenhausen a sell? He's been averaging 82, but he's had a 5-game average of 56. Like he's been playing pretty trash. Like it's not trash on purpose, but he just doesn't seem to be as involved in the attack.
Yeah.
And that calf tightness, and with the concern about him losing the goal kicking to Nick Meaney at any point." I sold. I know you sold Adam as well last week. Would you sell him?
Not now. Not that
Yeah.
he's named for a 3 p.m. game against the Knights. The reason we sold was that we got an extra number last week, which locked us into really good scores. Like I brought in Kickout who got like 70, and that, helped me. It gave me like an extra 45, 50 points and helped me, shoot up the rankings a bit. And, obviously you got in Marky Mark and he went 110, and that's just like saved your round. Without that, you would have been not getting the big green. So we've already got a big advantage out of the sell. And also, we just gambled on him maybe not being named this week, which didn't come off. But you got to take those gambles. Now that you've sat him there for a week and he's got a good matchup in a day game, I think you've got to at least give him this week. They've also got a game against Manly soon and a game against Para soon. So it's not like the draw's bad. Now there is a chance he won't goal kick. I know Physio said that it shouldn't affect the goal kicking too much with a calf, but it's not like he needs the extra strain. And Meaney's like, he's a good enough goal kicker, not as good as Pappenhausen. But there's a chance they say, look, come back, don't bother goal kicking, don't do the kickoffs, just chill and get the goals back in a week or two. In which case, like he's needs a lot of attack to score well if he's not goal kicking. So I'd be holding for sure. I think you had to jump off last week, and it's very scary now that he's named. We're gonna have to watch him, face a Knights team without Ponga and without Fletcher Sharp.
Yeah, true. And this is a question not related this week, but probably next week. Is Tommy Turbo back, Adam?
Oh God, don't get me started. It was so frustrating watching him take all Lehigh Hopewadi's left side sweeps and getting all these try assists, and my boy Lehigh was just standing there and watching. Look, he looked better. The role is pretty good. Like if he's going to defend at center and then just like sweep to the left and play fullback, like it's not a bad role. But the draw is really bad for Manly. Like their next 5, I think they've got a bye, and then it's like Raiders, Dogs, Storm, and Roosters or something.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's the next draw.
So like at center, I don't think, and he could get injured any time, like literally any time he could go down. So I don't see the point in buying. If you've got him, like maybe hold. I would worry that you'd still be losing points to better fullbacks. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't be buying. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'd be telling the listeners that, you should temper expectations. It was 123 against a depleted Bunny side. And playing against Tallis Duncan, who normally doesn't play at centre as well.
Yeah.
But, I've said this a million times on the podcast. I think he's the one player you break all logic for in this game because he's the best player of all time.
He's hard to get right.
Yeah, exactly right. Trades this week for me. I'm trading Joey Tarpany out to Nathan Cleary, as I talked about. Joey Taps, he's just been bumped up, finger dislocation, and then he got tapped on the ankle, and then Ricky just tried to give him the whole second half off, and then until we had to come on the last few minutes because Dragons were going to win the game, otherwise.
Almost stole it, yeah.
yeah. And there's too many buys for him, and there's a very good chance. Usually he runs him into the ground, but this year there's a good chance that Tarpany, I just hate it. Just makes me so angry. I have to go on the Discord every week and go, bring Joey Taps back on. When's he coming back on? And I'm sick of doing it. So I'm just going to sell him whilst he still has some type of trade value. I'm also probably going to trade out Sandon Smith as well to Blaze Talungi. He's going to be my pod this week.
Where'd you get that idea?
I got that from you, Adam. Basically, look, if you're in the top 18, I'm just going to copy whatever you do, really, to be honest.
Oh, yeah. We'll see. Hopefully it works out.
Yeah, 100%.
Could have had K a week, say. Oh man.
Yeah. What about you? Are you trading it all this week?
Yeah, so I'm doing kind of similar to you actually, but slightly different. I'm at the moment my current plan is Sand and Smith out, and I'm bringing in Dylan Edwards via
Yep.
duels. Same logic, man. Like the run for Penrith is awesome, and I'm if Cleary's not goal kicking in Origin, I'm pretty sure he won't goal kick for Penrith either. And if I can get Edwards as a pod against the Eels goal kicking, I'm pretty keen on that. And also, I think the role is quite good. That's why I got Blaze too. You know, I'm kind of hoping that Cleary's in the middle of the field, just creating all these overlaps, and then it's those guys getting the easy points on the end of it. I know a lot of people have talked about Edwards. Like if Pappenhausen was out, I think Edwards would have been very, very popular. Um, so yeah, that's my plan at the moment. I've just got to figure out a contingency. Like, what are you going to do if Cleary doesn't play?
Yeah, look, if he doesn't play, then I'm just going to hold the trade, honestly. Or I think I'm just going to hold the trade, and I'm just going to literally move only Sandin onto to Blaze. Tarpany doesn't play this week; he's on the bye, so he won't lose money, and then I'll kind of go from there. Really, yeah, like you, I'm just hoping Cleary keeps his. In a way, I'm hoping Cleary keeps his position as the TC merchant, and then Blaze just gets the try assist instead,
Yeah,
and then we both all just get a Penrith stack, really, to be honest.
yeah.
We're all just jumping on this fixture for the next 5 weeks, really, is what
Oh,
I
it's
think. Yeah.
juicy. I
Yeah.
just by the way, I'm glad Craig Bellamy got my gift basket and dropped Kane Bradley. So don't have that pay issue this week, which is nice because so I've only got when I trade Sandon, I've only got 18 players, so I can do a free loop, but it means that if Dylan Edwards doesn't play, I actually need to buy someone else.
Yep.
Um, so I've got to figure that side of things out. You know, if Edwards doesn't play and Cleary does, then I guess I just get Cleary, right? Um, if Edwards and Cleary don't play, like maybe I just get Lomax in that spot
Yep.
instead, because then he's playing a depleted Penrith, or maybe that's when I just switch to Haas, and
Yep.
just get him in early, save a trade. Um, Luckily, the fixtures actually work out pretty well. Like the fact that I'd still have Lomax and Haas as options in flex is quite lucky,
Yeah.
because sometimes there would just be no other options to go to, and you'd be kind of trapped. So
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I feel Kane Bradley's been hard done by because he's actually one of the ones who knows how to play the fucking ball. Listeners, I'm referring to Craig Bellamy being caught saying, "Teach him how to play the fucking ball" on the Fox camera.
we need a press red button for Craig on Foxtel, like they used to do
I
back
don't
in the
think I'd
day.
watch any of the Storm game. I'd just be watching him most of it, as most
Do you
people
remember
would
when
say normally.
they had the Hayne cam when Jared Hayne was on? I think it was when he was on. Was it when he came back to the Titans, or was it when he was in the NFL? Maybe I can't remember. But they had like a Hayne cam that just followed him the whole game. We need that for
Yep.
Bellamy, and just as soon as Storm make an error, you can just switch to the coach's box.
I want to know what drink he's getting when he, disappears behind the screen. When he disappears and walks away. I want to know. Maybe he's just getting a drink.
Yeah.
That's what I really want to know.
Oh man. Yeah, our boy Drinky came through too. That was a good VC loop.
Oh yeah, no, that was awesome. Like, because I was thinking about, VCing Hughes last week, and
Yeah.
you talked me into doing Drinky, and it doesn't take me very much at all to VC or see Drinky. It was
Yeah.
just, oh man, I was just so lucky, but because I just got greedy. I was like, oh, I think Teddy can still go big, and when he was on, what was he on at like with with 30 seconds to go?
He
I
was
think
on
he was
40.
on.
He was on 45. Man, the siren was about to go. Like he's on 45. Siren's about to go. Scores the junkiest try of your life. I was so mad. He's like 60% captain. Like, ah,
I
frustrating.
was, I was pretty relieved. But that's my lesson of the week, really. Look, if my VC scores 100 plus, just loop him. You just never know what will happen.
Yeah.
Even though Teddy was going to be apparently a surefire to score 177 and not just 77. Yeah.
Ugh.
Let's finally just talk quickly about captains this week, and then we'll wrap it up. Adam, who are you thinking about VCing? Who are you thinking about seeing?
Yeah. So my VC is Teddy at the moment, and my C is Edwards. Just because I've got that free loop, it makes it a bit easier to take a look at Teddy. I think it's a pretty good chance he's going to bounce back. The Roosters are going to bounce back. They've got their troops back. The Dragons aren't very good. I'm pretty sure Tedesco's going like 120 plus or 100 plus. So in all likelihood, I'll just loop. But if Teddy doesn't do much, then yeah, I think I'll go with Edwards or Cleary if that's who it ends up being. If neither of those two, I really don't know. Hey, I mean, maybe like Terrell May just as a fallback.
Yep.
He's got a decent matchup, so he could be a good one. I mean, what are you looking at?
Well, look, honestly, I'm doing very similar to you. I'm going to be VCing Teddy. Like you said, he's just the Darkins are his bunny team. He
Yeah.
just always goes big against him. That was the week I sold him. I sold him out for Drinky in, was it round 8 or something like that?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he went 149. He scored something like 50 points in the final minute. Man, trust Teddy to always get
year,
junked.
isn't he? Yeah, seriously, he's actually the junk king this year.
Nah, that belongs to my nemesis, Herbie Farnworth.
Yeah, Herbie and Tedesco, both of them, man. Like, because Teddy had he had that late try assist against the Knights, that Wong like dodgy put down in the last buy round, and then he had the try against the Tigers. He had that Raiders game. I captained him, and he got a try like right on halftime.
Yeah, he did.
5 seconds left. He's had so many, like even the Sharks in the first buy round. He's only scored 68, but he scored a try with like 4 minutes left to get to 68. Like, yeah, he's really turned into a bit of a junk king lately.
But yeah, I think another really good VC option if I had him would be Herbie as well. Yeah, because I think he's going to score you a minimum of 80, every week. It's just insane.
He's unreal. Yeah. You're not going to buy it?
Nah. I've got to antipod him, and it just gives me something to complain about on this podcast. I honestly didn't think I'd be talking about Herbie, but I've managed to bring it up again this week.
Actually, I just remembered, if I don't, the other captaincy option I think is Carraz against the Cowboys this week, because he's got the bye. Like, as in he didn't play last week because of Origin, being 18th man. I think he would be a good fallback as well, because the Cowboys are just pretty putrid, and he gets his offloads and his runs, and he should get at least like 60 in base. So he's
I
not
think
going
the hardest thing will be for him especially with Montoya going down. I think he just had surgery on his neck, I think, and he's out for 6 weeks. Which side he ends up on? I think he's actually better off on the right side.
Yeah.
But when he was on the left side, I think last game, it just didn't turn out great at all.
I think he might have just switched to try and go up against Toto, honestly.
Yep.
He's just like, watch this, Laurie Daly, I'm going to destroy Toto, and then he did not destroy Toto. But yeah, I think I reckon he'll be back on the right. He's been so good on the right. I don't see, like, it feels a bit silly to like switch him now.
Yeah, and then like my C will hopefully be Cleary, and if not, I'll just wait for Teddy to go massive, and then we don't have to worry about it, like you said. We can all just loop him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. Well, Adam, thank you for coming on and flexing. And we hope
flexing my top 18.
Yeah, top 18.
Got to get it in while I can. I don't have many trades left, so it might not be going up much.
I don't think anybody has trades left, honestly, when you're at that level, really. You've only got to go up 17 ranks, really, and then you can take home 50K cash free. Tax free.
Tax free.
Yeah, tax free. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. Anyways, listeners, like I said, I hope you guys have a good week this week in super coaching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And I think Ryan is back next week. Peace.